them and choose them, appoint them in the manner that you as the state legislature designates. That is your authority. And don't let anyone tell you differently, because that is our United States Constitution that was specifically provided by our founders. This is not a political question. We don't, of course, we love our president. We are here on his behalf, but we are also here as American citizens. And I can tell you directly from my conversations with the president, and of course the mayor can as well, that he cares not just about this election, but about every future election. We have to preserve and protect election integrity, and it is up to the courage, as the mayor said, of every man and woman in the state legislatures that see this corruption to act. You have the ability and the authority to act. It's just a matter of having courage. This is not a political question. It's a legal one, and it's an American one. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. All right, members, if you would, let's start with our closing comments. Try to keep it to just a couple of minutes, and then when we get done, I'll set the expectation for what our work product will be going forward. Representative Cook, could you kick us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Numbers do not lie, and all the evidence that I've been wanting to hear, I have heard exactly what I expected to hear. When I say numbers don't lie, that's how we put people on the moon, is by math. And everything I've read about this election, not about party, not about whatever, it's about what has been done, what are the vote totals, what does the math tell us has gone on here. And that is what I have heard here today. Here where the anomalies are. This person would have to get 130% of the votes that are available, and this person would have to get minus 30% that was available to get the same intersections. Once again, this is how we put people on the moon. This is how we shoot rockets and all that stuff into space, is by math. Numbers do not lie. And so I will wrap up by saying this. Anyone outside this room today that says there is no evidence and that Mr. Giuliani is on some dog and pony show of no evidence going around the country, they are sadly mistaken, because I notice they're not in this room getting their facts straight like the members up at this table, and getting questions to answers for the people of this state that are demanding it, while other people are hiding right down the road under their desk or wherever they're at and not answering their phones, right? I'm just appalled by some of the stuff that I've heard here today, and the inept action and the rudeness that some people have been elected to in the state as leaders of our own party and of the body. And I will leave it there before I say too much. Thank you very much.
Representative Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to piggyback on that regarding the leaders in this state that are blocking our efforts, that we've asked and we've been told no. We've talked about how we could be doing an audit if we had subpoena power. We need to have a committee in order to enact the subpoena power, and in order to get the committee, we need permission from leadership to do that, and we have yet to receive it. So I take issue with us doing nothing. I take issue with us doing nothing. We have people in the room that are raising their voice saying, we're tired of talking. We want you to do something. And legally, we need action from our leaders. Now let me tell you what our original leaders said in the Declaration of Independence. Our original leaders said, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object and vices, are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, all power in a few people that's injurious to the rest. It is the right of the people, it is their duty to throw off such government, to throw off those leaders who are saying no. And I don't mean throw off like off a building or something, but to replace them, right? It's our duty as legislators, it's our duty as citizens to replace them, because doing nothing is not an option. So if they won't do it, we need to replace them. Now, we've heard a lot of things today. We just briefly skimmed over the fact that we have depositions of people saying that there's ballots flown into this state and others. We haven't talked a lot about that because that's still under investigation. But I want a federal investigation on that. I don't want that just shoved under the rug. Whether it's true or not true, we need to investigate it. We've heard that there's information warfare. Does that mean we're at war? Yes. We've heard about weighted voting and chain of custody and servers in Germany. You know, we're at a crossroads, Arizona. We're at a crossroads, America. We have two choices. We've taken an oath. It's one thing to take an oath. Anyone can take an oath. It's another thing to honor it. Who in Arizona is honoring their oath? You have people here, legislators in the audience, prior, current, future. Will you raise your hands, please? Legislators in the audience, thank you for being here. There's many of us that stand together in this issue and will not tolerate nonfeasance. You either believe in national integrity or you're okay with anything goes if it's a means to an end. And I do want to remind those who fall into the second camp, they may have done that this time, but they created a system in Maricopa County, the fourth largest county in this country, who now has a Republican county recorder. Are they okay with this loose system being used in the next election? Or do they want it cleaned up for themselves the next time around? It goes both ways. It's not Republican, it's not a Democrat, it's integrity and confidence in the voting system, which we have none. It has completely collapsed. And you have a choice to either love power, your power, or to love people. And I choose to love the people in this room, in this state, in this country, and around the world, frankly, who benefit from this country. And I'll close by saying, I had a buddy in the Navy years and years ago, I won't say what year, but I'll age myself, but his mother's had a stroke in the last few days, and she's in hospice expected to pass away. And here she is, if you can see her. I've never met her, but I remember her son, my buddy. Saw it on Facebook. She's a grandmother. How many of you have grandchildren here? Raise your hand. And grandparents, it's that word grand. This grand country and the people that are in it. The people I know close to me who are close to the end of their lives, knowing that they're leaving this earth in shambles. They're leaving this country in a wreck. And the children that they're leaving it to have been abandoned. Abandoned by those leaders who do nothing. They know better. They choose to do nothing. They have been abandoned. It's time to put off those leaders and replace them with people who honor their oath. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a pleasure being here today. I chose to participate in today's hearing because I care deeply about the integrity of Arizona's elections. It's imperative that the voters in our state trust the election process and know that the only legal votes that are counted are the legal ones and not the illegal ones. It's clear that a large number of voters in our state have legitimate concerns about the November 3rd election. Too many voters to count have reached out to me looking for answers, and I'm hopeful today's hearing has provided some of those answers. I also want to emphasize that looking into the election process is not a partisan issue. It's each and every elected official should want to know that our election system is sound. And we should never be afraid to take a thorough look to make sure it is. We need to be willing to do everything possible to answer the questions and address the concerns being raised by voters. Casually dismissing them with just pat reassurances is, I believe, a huge mistake. We owe the voters more than that, and I believe today's hearing has shown there is plenty of reason to have considerable doubt, reasonable doubt. Frankly, I don't understand how anybody could certify this election. I also find it ironic, this happens periodically. Venezuela has been brought up many times in today's conversation. I've been with a Venezolana for 13 years, my wife, and her mother now lives here. I attended my wife's citizenship ceremony. Her mother got her green card, and she lives here now. And I can tell you firsthand from being involved in family members that are from Venezuela what that country is going through at this point. And I can assure you that our Constitution is under attack when it comes to this election. We have to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that this election is done right, that we defend the election process. It's the foundation of our country, how we elect our leaders. It's so important. We have to do everything we possibly can, and I believe there is a path to do what we need to do. However, we have some hurdles, as my colleague just stated. We have to operate within the law. And in order for us to get the session that we need, for the very same reason that we're sitting in this room today, we have to get past those hurdles. We have to get those individuals that slow walked, that ignored the request to have this at the Capitol, to have this in a fashion that we would have subpoena power. We have to get past those hurdles. That's where we're going to need each and every person's help out there to make sure they understand that we have to be on the right side of this issue, and that's another major reason why I'm here today. I refuse to end up being on the wrong side of this issue. Thank you very much.
Representative Bartow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for arranging for the hearing. I really appreciate you doing that. And I really want to express my gratitude for Mayor Giuliani. Your passion for our president is an example to us all for freedom. Thank you for heading up the fight. I want to also thank so many of the citizens of this state that knew that all of this was going on and have been so actively encouraging us to get to the bottom of the truth, to hear the evidence. And we've been hearing about it ever since the election, that these things were happening. And this hearing exceeded expectations in laying it all out by witnesses, firsthand testimony, experts in their fields. Thank you, Colonel, and others who so wonderfully expressed what you've been experiencing and the trouble you've gone to, the hours and hours of expertise you put into analyzing data so that we can, with our layman experience, understand what's been going on. it's been eye-opening, to say the least. And I just encourage, I'm grateful that we did this in a forum where it's on the record and people will have an opportunity to see this. Because it's no longer just anecdotal. We have affidavits who have sworn affidavits who experience these things. You know, I served as a district chairman in the GOP for several years, and alongside a lot of you in this room, and I never heard of volunteers at a polling place, at an election, experiencing what these people have, what many of you have. Being shoved somewhere and told you can't go here, you can't do that. Not being able to observe what you're supposed to be observing, getting shut down when you ask a question. These are not normal activities. So the question we have, and so the problem we have to overcome is our tendency to be too nice about this. Republicans want to go to work, enjoy our freedoms, and not make waves. This is our biggest hurdle, in my opinion, because despite all of this, and we will take next steps, I believe there will be next steps that we will take to get to the bottom of it, to do more investigations based on what was revealed here today. But we will have a lot of backlash because people just want to get on with their lives and accept the election results. And we can't do that because we don't have the evidence to do that. The evidence points in the other direction. It would be wrong. So I just want to, we have to want freedom more than we want comfort. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of us in our society because, you know, we're the ones that always want to capitulate. We want to go along to get along. But this is not a time for that. This is definitely not. I don't want to ramble like I have been already, but I just thank you again for the opportunity to serve at this point in history and plead with everyone that takes the time to watch this testimony and watch it all if you have a chance to get involved, stay involved, and help us to keep our republic free by making sure we have voter integrity going forward. We have to address these things now. Thank you.
Representative Biasucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first want to just ask everybody to give a round of applause to everybody who spoke and testified today in front of everybody. You know, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts to come and do something like that, and you're patriots, and I think we're all grateful for what you guys did here today. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I know that the panel appreciates it as well. Also, a big round of applause for Mayor Giuliani and her legal team and Jenna. You know, I can't imagine what you guys go through, what you've been going through, but when you're fighting for freedom, none of that matters. So I appreciate it. I know everybody else here does too. You know, before this hearing, before Pennsylvania, I think I, like so many other millions of Americans, we knew something was wrong, right? We knew something was off with this election. We didn't know what, but it didn't feel right. And all the people wanted, all they came to me, and I know everybody else up here on this panel and representatives in the crowd, they just wanted us to look into it. They just said, look, we just look into it for us. Something's not right. What's wrong with that? Even if you look into it and there's nothing, at least we looked into it. At least we eased the thoughts and our voters thought that something was wrong, and we gave them some closure. At least we did that. It would be easy for that to be the case. We go along, we move on, but after today's testimony and what some of these great witnesses have said, like the Colonel and others, I mean, I am angry, shocked that this is happening in our country. This is the United States of America. This is not some banana republic. Right? This shouldn't be happening here. And what happens if we do nothing about it? What happens if we just turn a blind eye and say, it's not worth fighting for? That's right. Tear up the Constitution. Why even have laws? Why even vote? It's our duty to fight back. It's our duty to expose the corruption. And I'm telling you right now, I promise you this, and I know everybody up here on this panel, representatives in this crowd, and all of you, we're going to fight. We're going to fight. Because I will not let this country go down. I will not lose the freedoms and the liberties that we've all been fighting for since day one.
Amen. Amen.
And I thank you all for standing up and being patriots. Thank you.
Senator Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been absolutely a wonderful experience to be here. I mean, I am so thrilled that we've been able to hear this testimony, to be able to get it out there in a public forum. And I, too, thank everybody that's been involved, and for the mayor coming and for all those who participated. You know, when I turned 21 to celebrate, I didn't go to a bar. I went and registered to vote. I couldn't wait to vote. When I was born red, white, and blue. I tell you, I come from a family that has the love of freedom in our DNA. And my parents were raised in the Depression and World War II, and that's what I was raised on, as stories about those experiences. And talk about anti-communist. They taught their children, there's 11 in my family, and we were taught to love this country and about our Constitution and about how important it is to stand up and fight for these liberties. I'm an avid reader, and I have read all about, I know history. I know what's happened in Russia and the Soviet Union and the Cultural Revolution in China and Castro in Cuba and the Nazi Germany, and never in my life did I think that we would face what we're facing today in this country. You know, yes, this is about President Trump's presidency, but it's even more important than that. This is about, because it's about saving this country, because this is a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if you destroy the electoral system to where our votes now mean nothing because we've got thugs in charge and thinking they can rip the vote away from us, we have destroyed this republic. We are no longer a republic. We are truly on the path of becoming a total socialist, communist, Marxist, all the isms that take away every aspect of our lives and every personal and individual freedom of our lives and control us. We are becoming part of that, and that's been the battle that we have been fighting so hard that I've tried to fight in my political career. And so it is so important that we continue down, not stopping until we expose the corruption that's out there. You know, all through this election, I was involved in so many prayer circles and so many people that were praying. I believe so strongly that this country is for moral and virtuous people, and that's the only way we'll save it. That's the only way we can save it. And it is not moral and it's not virtuous to lie and to steal and to take away our precious freedom of voting and being able to have our vote really count. You know, the weekend of President Trump's inauguration, In 2017, David Brock, head of Media Matters, put together a conference with over 100 liberal donors to map out how Democrats would kick Donald Trump. Media Matters, along with Crew, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, produced a big playbook of how they were going to get President Trump, and that impeachment was all the impeachment stuff and all the things he's been through for 4 years was part of that. In their playbook, they say Trump will be defeated either through impeachment or at the ballot box in 2020. Do you doubt them? Did you doubt that they were not going to keep on their path? They told us. It's out there in plain sight that we're under a coup. We are in a revolution. And we have got to decide which side we're on. Now, I'm ready to go and appoint the electors, but it's not that easy, ladies and gentlemen. But it's not going to be that easy. And I need to talk to you, Ms. Ellis. I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask about this because I know that it's a federal function, and in a federal function, power comes directly from the U.S. Constitution, and it isn't bound by state rules. So that's what I wanted to, I need to talk to you later about these questions I have about, because we are bound by some state rules about how we get into a special session. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. God bless all of us in this country. And I've been so thrilled that I could be here today and that I would be able to, this would be the last thing I can do as a state senator, is to be able to stand up for this election. So thank you so much. I love you all.
Senator Gowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say thank you to our president for the call-in. I mean, that was, isn't that that was awesome. And I just want to say for what he's done for our nation as well. We are the greatest nation on earth, right? And he brought us back to where the world remembers that. That's the biggest thing. So, you know, what he's done for us is just tremendous. And your team, you and your team, thank you for being here and showing us all the things that were exposed today. I'm intrigued. I'm blown away, you know, with the issues that I've heard. You know, it disturbs me because of the allegations that we've heard here today. And I'm actually kind of blown away too that you're not getting a day in court after what I've heard here today. And I presume that's been presented to the court to show them. And if we're just touching it, it's just interesting to me. It just, again, I'm blown away. I'm sure everybody is right here, right? You know, and I'm also perturbed that we have this dominion system. It's run by a foreign company for our elections. That's disturbing. So, you know, bringing that to light is very interesting. That's something that we can look at, certainly fixing as well. But you never know when it goes out of country where those votes go, right? Or what happens, or the issues at hand with that. And that's why I'm also surprised that we haven't done a full hand count or audit to look at these allegations to say, hey, this is right or that's right, or something's going on here. That's the crazy thing, I'm telling you. You know, it's also apparent to me we need to fix a lot of things that are happening in our elections. And certainly, you talk about shining a bright light on the issues at hand that have occurred, showing in the past, and it took something like this, took a president like this to actually stand up and say, hey, look at what's happening. And I'm thankful for that. Look, we all know the old saying, right? If you're Republican, you got to win by 2% or more. I mean, that's the issue at hand, and I think we're seeing a lot of that occur right here. And right in front of our eyes, we're seeing a lot of testimony from eyewitnesses proving certain situations have occurred that we probably all had something in our mind before about. And here they are coming forward and speaking on those issues. A lot of things that need to be fixed. I would say thank you to all the people who gave testimony today. I mean, that is courageous, very courageous. Come out. I'm just one of those dumb guys that gives my burden to God, right? So I just come and do what I'm supposed to do. That's why I'm sitting here. So I know others, it's frightening to get up here and do that. And God bless you, and thank you for being a patriot, as one of my colleagues has said down there. I just want to let you guys know, it's going to be my pleasure to continue to fight for you and fight for this great state and our nation. So we're going to continue forward and fight. And what I want to say to you guys is God bless you, and thank you for serving and coming and serving your nation in this manner that you're doing as well. And for those online and watching on TV, you're watching because you believe in this great nation, and we believe in you. So we're going to continue to fight, like I said. So God bless you.
Senator Borelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I grew up in a tough neighborhood. When I was growing up, we always thought that FBI stood for Forever Bothering Italians. And what I learned in school was, what comes after a sentence is an appeal. But I think FBI should actually change the name to Force a Biden Investigation. But Mayor, it's really a pleasure and honor to be with you today, and it's a good thing you're not prosecuting me, so I'm happy for that. I'm going to quote something that was going back a little bit of history, dated on 5/16/17. Our election was hijacked. There is no question Congress has a duty to hashtag protect our democracy and hashtag follow the facts. Nancy Pelosi. And now we're all called a bunch of conspiracy theorists, which is kind of amazing. And listening to the testimony today, I find it ironic that a company in Canada, Canadian company, is not even being used in Canada, who uses nothing more than paper ballots, hand count. I find it ironic and appalling that our folks got lazy, looking for an easy way to doing things, a more efficient way of doing things, but you know what? Electronics can be corrupted, and maybe we need to go back to that and learn something from Canada, our neighbors to the north. And, by hearing all the ballots, we might get rid of this one, disqualify that one. I think it would be poetic justice if President Trump won by 2020 votes. I took an oath 43 years ago when I joined the Marines. I've been through all kinds of places throughout this world when I was in service, and I've been to some countries that were not so garden spots. And I remember being in Thailand in 1981 when they just got done with a coup, and the European visitors and everybody that was there, they were happy to see that red, white, and blue out in the harbor with us Marines and sailors that we could possibly come to the rescue. Of course, we thought we were just going on a normal operation in Liberty. Thank God we went on Operation in Liberty. We didn't have to get involved. But when we left Thailand, we had to stop and take up on board 18 Vietnamese refugees. This is 1981, and the oldest of the children was 18 years old. None of them were involved in that war at all, but we took them aboard, and to take care of them. They were out there floating around in the dead water for weeks. Took them on board, cleaned them up, gave them some uniforms. Of course, a lot of them didn't, our camis didn't fit them all, but we took care of them because that's what Americans do. And I'm proud that my 22 years in the service was in that reflection, that we are that beam of light, that hope. Last year, I went to Italy for the very first time with my colleague and my seatmate, which I like to call my teammate, Representative Leo Biasucci. And he's a first-generation American. So we went to his dad's hometown, and Dad was there with us. And his dad, we went on his trip. And we got to meet the mayor of the small town where his dad grew up. And he's like the big hero of Leo Biasucci, one of the sons of our town. And the pride and admiration they had for him being an elected official in the United States was awestruck. It was unbelievable. I felt so much pride. Anyway, we were under attack a lot for the last couple of weeks, trying to force something, a hearing. Representative Fitcham was trying to get a hearing in the House, couldn't get it done. I tried to get things done with the Senate. There was some obstacles, this and that, a lot of arguments back and forth. And then we got all kinds of hate email when we decided we're going to do this. And people were calling me up. I got death threats. I had all kinds of crazy stuff, which is, I'm surprised I made it past 25 years old. So I'm not really, I care. But, and I had to tell some friends, I'm like, if I see corruption and I see evidence, I can't look the other way. Like I said, I took an oath 43 years ago. There's no expiration date on that oath. And I grew up in a world where honor, courage, and commitment was an everyday way of life. That's not a marketing slogan. That's just the way it is. You had quoted one of the pieces of the last sentences of the Constitution, which I actually text that back to them. But, you know, I had to take these notes down, but voting is not just an obligation, but it is a right. It's an enshrined in our Constitution. But let me remind you all, that was paid for with blood, with the blood of patriots. Overseas ballots, like I said, I was overseas. I'm convinced that some of my overseas ballots never even counted. So was I disenfranchised? Did they get counted? Did they get switched? Who knows? I don't know. So to look the other way after hearing this testimony would be a dishonor to those my brothers and sisters in uniform. It would dishonor our forefathers and even my own father, who was a Korean War veteran, and to the citizens of every American that we were sworn to serve in this state. So I'm going to do this nice quote because there's some really brilliant people wrote this. And it's the last part of the Declaration of Independence. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection and divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not over. Surrender is not in my creed. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long day. This day started a month ago. When we knew what was coming, we knew that there was a tidal wave. Some of us have been planning for this as long as 3 months ago. Because we saw what was coming, we prepared our legal briefs, we've done everything we could do to prepare for a flood, a tidal wave. I want to thank the mayor, Jen Ellis, Commissioner Carrick, Catherine Freese, Colonel Waldron, if it wasn't for you, we'd be dead in the water. Indeed. Indeed. It's exceedingly hard for me to place a label on what we've heard other than racketeering. Good old-fashioned mobster racketeering. But on a grand scale, I know that President Trump, once he arrived at the swamp, said, okay, how am I going to clear this thing? I don't know that he realized that the plug is so deep there's not enough chain. One of my favorite statements comes from James Madison. If men were angels, no government would be needed, would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men, over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and the next place, oblige it to control itself. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not seen one single government entity in the United States ever give up a scintilla of power once it seized it. Not once. We have endless executive orders from mayors, from governors, and I'm not hooting on our governor, I'm hooting on all governors. You don't have the authority to make me safe. That's my job. My wife is not going to let me say this, but as I look around this room, I'll substitute a word. I'm absolutely outraged by the excuse that's been used for an 800-person ballroom to be limited to 160 people. Now let me turn to the vote the election that we've been talking about. It's interesting to me, I'm going to repeat this, why so many people call for civil rights. To be fortified, to be enforced, to be protected, but there's virtually no call for the most supreme civil right, and that is for our franchise to give the consent to be governed. That's what Mr. Madison was talking about. That's what our entire government, 5,000-year leap, if this goes away, God help us, because it will be gone. Because you will have to have at least a few men to stand on a green and fire their rifles at the best military machine ever conceived in the 1700s. Think about that for a moment. They knew if there was going to be a war, let it start here. That was a conscious decision. Why? Because they were sick and tired of tyranny. What we're experiencing right now is a form of tyranny that is insidious. This is our nation. This nation doesn't belong to Belgium, doesn't belong to George Soros. Yeah, that's right, I said the Soros word. Okay? I have the question, I guess, in my mind, will history judge us as acting objectively today? I love the fact that this panel has been so objective that they have, We're at 7:24. I told them we would be done no later than 7:30, so I guess I better wrap this up. But think about all of the thoughtful, deliberative questions that have been asked by these people. That's strength. That's courage. I hope that out of this, besides calling for a special session, which I am doing right now, I hope even more than a special session, we see a series of grand juries convened. There is so much criminal behavior that has gone on in this state and states around the country. I believe that it is time for our Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney to start perp walking some people. I am glad that you are fired up. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a skirmish. You ain't seen nothing yet. Because when Satan wants to extinguish a light, he will stop at nothing. So be on your guard, put on the full armor of God, and be prepared to fight. Thank you. I am asking my colleagues to please consolidate your notes over the next 24 hours. And I'm hopeful that we will have a work product that we can at least vet with our leadership in both the House and the Senate. This is what we have heard. This is the resolution that we would like to have heard. It's going to take some work. I mean, we're talking about a pretty fast cycle time. But I think that we've got the talent here, certainly. And I think that we can do that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Senator Borelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know about you folks, but I think that he would be a great Secretary of State. Let's give it up for Mark Fitcham.
I think I'll have to have a conversation with somebody at home before that happens. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We do need to clear out of here because we are over time. Thank you.